Hey everybody. I want to have a bit of a difficult conversation. I'm a little afraid of offending you though, because I might stumble through this because I'll be honest, I'm a little bit nervous. But I'm going to ask that you can be maybe patient with me for just a minute or two, because what I'm hoping is that by letting how I feel and some of the behavior I've noticed, that in the long run, it'll actually help us to work better together, because maybe instead of an email, because we don't want to talk to each other, it can be, a quick little 10-second conversation, like, across cubicles. So will you bear with me for just a second? And this, my friends, is the first model that I want to show you for how to have difficult conversations. I call it AFPHO, or acknowledge, fear, patience, hope, outcome. Now, the first thing we want to do is acknowledge that I want to have a difficult conversation. Small talk is not your friend, especially because most of the time we know the difficult conversation is coming and we're beating around the bush because it's uncomfortable. If we acknowledge that, hey, this is uncomfortable, it helps both of us emotionally prepare. The next two steps are really crucial for you if you're the one who's starting the conversation. You're the one who wants to have the difficult conversation. By acknowledging that you're afraid of saying the wrong thing, it helps to de-escalate the other person, and it almost incites empathy. It will make the other person a bit more empathetic, and the same goes for your patience. I'm afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing and you're going to get upset, but I'm hoping you'll bear with me. You vocalizing that makes you a little vulnerable, yes, but it also makes the other person way more open to what is going to come next. The next two steps are hope and outcome. The hope is what you are hoping is going to happen in terms of behavior change. The outcome is the result of that behavior change. So when we first started this video, I actually tried to use AFPHO with you. I acknowledged that I wanted to have a difficult conversation. I talked about that I was afraid I was going to say something wrong or not explain myself well. And I asked for your patience. That was to prime what is going to happen next. That makes us both open. You will be more open, more empathetic. I'm showing vulnerability. That also de-escalates us. What I hope for is kind of what my idea of the objective is, but the outcome is the result of my idea. So I hope that you would listen to me and keep an open mind and maybe not roll your eyes, because if we do, we can maybe prevent difficult conversations before they happen. Let's look at a different example. I'm going to use a little random gripe from maybe 15 years ago when I was working for a little while, like just a couple of months at a startup. And this is in Vancouver. There was a gentleman who would always come to our meetings with sunglasses on. And he would just keep his sunglasses on the whole time in the middle of the meeting. And I thought that was really rude. So what did I do? Hey, loser, take your glasses off. You're inside. You're not Jack Nicholson. You're not famous. Nobody cares. Stop trying so hard. Hey, man, I want to have a bit of an awkward conversation with you. Do you have like a second? Okay, thanks. So I'm afraid that I'm going to say something that is really going to trigger you and maybe make you feel very self-conscious and maybe mad at me. But if you can just be patient for like 2 or 3 minutes and let me stumble through this, because my hope is that you not only understand my perspective, but actually can help you kind of integrate with the rest of the team. Because ideally, I want it so that every time you're in a meeting, people are excited to hear your ideas. Is that fair? Can you be patient with me for like a couple of minutes while I stumble through this? Thank you. Okay. So what happens after you get to that point? Well, then I have another 3 steps for you. But before I do, I want to highlight a couple of little things I did in that example that we've already talked about. Number 1, asking if they have a little bit of time right now. giving that person the option to talk now or talk later gives a sense of control because maybe the person's not in the mood right there and then. The other thing is I got those micro agreements. Is that okay? Is that okay? Would it be all right? The more I can get micro agreements, once again, the more open the conversation can be. But now to our second acronym, RFBI. Responsibility, feelings, behavior, impact. I mean, right now, at this moment, the other person is very open to the things we're about to say. And we can further disarm that person, make them more open by taking some form of responsibility for this difficult conversation we're having. That can be a variety of things. You can be responsible for not saying something sooner, for being afraid to broach the subject, for not explaining etiquette when they first started, for not saying something during the session or the first time you saw it. Taking responsibility makes it about us, not about them, right? It opens up the flow of communication. The next step is feelings. I know what you're thinking. I can't wait to talk about my feelings. I know you. But it is important to acknowledge how the behavior makes you feel. You know, I'm feeling a little unimportant and I'm feeling a little disregarded in the meetings. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation. That's all it takes. It's not even like just a feeling. It's the impact the behavior is having on you. I am dreading our meetings. That's going to create curiosity in that other person, and it's going to make them want to know why. Now, remember, in our previous videos, I talked about how it's so important to be specific when you're talking about things that someone else is doing. Because if you say something like, you're always coming in with your sunglasses on, that other person will respond with the one time they didn't. Or, I just did that once in a while. Why are you making a big deal? See? So what you have to do is be specific with the behavior, a specific example of that behavior. The last 3 times we had meetings. Yesterday, when you had your sunglasses on during the meeting, be very specific. Once again, this de-escalates someone because I'm not attacking your personality. I'm not attacking you as a person. I'm observing and commenting on a specific behavior I saw, which leads us once again to our model. Impact. Here you have 2 choices, the impact it has on you, but that might have already come out when you talked about how it made you feel, but also the impact on the organization and everyone else. I'm afraid that if we keep up with the sunglasses during the meetings, people are going to feel put off by it. And as a result, they might not want to communicate with you, and they might not listen as well as they could when you're speaking. RFBI. At this point, you've done all the talking. So what happens next? Well, this is when active listening kicks in. This is when you say, all right, thank you for being patient with me. Thank you for letting me stumble through this. I hope you understand that I'm really just trying to focus on making better meetings, outcome, focusing on the objective, the outcome. And I would love to hear what you have to say. From this point onward, it's just active listening. Let them talk, repeat back what you're saying, acknowledge what they're saying, repeat it back in more than one sentence, get them going, and follow the steps of active listening, especially when you get to that point where you're trying to talk about what happens next. Remember, the baby steps. Focus on an outcome, time constraints, all the things we talked about before. And that, my friends, is how you can make your difficult conversations a little bit easier. AFPHO. RFBI. Together, by using these 2 frameworks, we can help to make every difficult conversation a little bit easier. And easy is how we not only get things done, but how we can change for the better. So let's make it easy.